Morning, Pre-K. Welcome back to the library. It's Monday. Our sight word is N-O-W. Now. Now it is time for class. Can we go to the park now? Now is what I call a time word. It tells you about time. Now is happening right here. Tomorrow is a time word. That means ahead. Tomorrow is the next day. What's another good time word that you can think of? How about before? That means that something happened before now. It came first. Now is right now, and later it will be after now and before. So, time words. Words we use to help someone understand what we mean about the time when something happened. So, I am going to something now. I am going to jump now. I am going to run now. I am going to bed now. I am going to eat my lunch now. That means you're going to do it right away. A lot of you are in different classes right before lunch, and you always ask me, is it lunch now? And I always tell you, after we go to the bathroom. So, I am going to read now. And we are going to start a new chapter book. And this is really special because I have never read this to Pre-K before. So, I decided it's a wonderful book. And I just decided, well, we'll read this one this time. It's called Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Some of you may have seen different movies. Oh gosh, I think Disney made Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Probably more than one kind. So this is a really goofy story. All kinds of really weird things happen that make it fun. And this is Alice, this is the White Rabbit, and this is the Mad Hatter, and there are going to be all these different really unusual animals and people pop up. You'll like this book. It is, let's see how many chapters. Oh, and it is 12 chapters. And it does have, even though it is a chapter book, it does have some illustrations. And it has some poems in it. This was written by a man named Lewis Carroll. And he actually wrote this book for a little girl named Alice. So, here we go. We even have a listing. I like it when they do this in books. This shows you all the different characters in the story. And it tells you who they are. So right now, we're going to learn about Alice and the White Rabbit. And Alice's sister. She has an older sister. So chapter 1 is called Down the Rabbit Hole. Alice was beginning to get tired of sitting by her sister on the riverbank with nothing to do. Once or twice, she had peered into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. And what good is a book, thought Alice, without pictures or conversations? She thought about making a daisy chain, but didn't feel like getting up and picking the daisies. So she laid her head in her sister's lap and watched the clouds. Suddenly, a white rabbit with pink eyes ran by. Oh dear, I will be late, the white rabbit said. It took a watch out of its pocket and looked at it, and then it hurried away, being very curious. That's a big word for nosy. Alice jumped to her feet and ran across the field after it. She was just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole under the hedge. Without thinking, she followed. The rabbit hole was a long tunnel that seemed to go on forever. She made her way through the narrow passage as best she could, when suddenly it dropped down. Alice didn't have a minute to think before she realized she was falling down a very deep well. She seemed to be falling very slowly, so she spent her time looking around. Cupboards, bookshelves, maps, and pictures that hung upon the nails from one of the shelves and the walls were all around. She took down a jar as she passed it. It was from one of the shelves. It was labeled orange marmalade. Marmalade's a fancy word for jelly. But to her, but to her disappointment, it was empty. So she carefully put it back onto the cupboards. As she fell past it, down, down, down she went. Would the fall ever come to an end? I wonder how many miles I've fallen, she said out loud. It must be getting near the center of the earth. I wonder if I will fall right through it. Okay, here's a picture of Alice falling. She's passing bookcases and walls and mirrors, and there she is with the jar of marmalade. What I think is interesting is she doesn't seem to be scared at all. Down, down, down. There was nothing else to do, so Alice began talking to herself. Dinah will miss me, I think. Dinah was her cat. Oh, I wish you were down here with me, Dinah. She dozed off and she dreamed that she was walking hand in hand with her cat. When suddenly, thump, thump, down she came upon a heap of sticks and dry leaves. And the fall was over. Alice stood up and wiped herself off. She looked up to see where she had fallen from, but it was too dark to see anything at all. In front of her was another long passageway, and the white rabbit was hurrying down it. There wasn't a moment to lose. Anyway, off she went after the rabbit. Oh, my ears and whiskers, how late I am, how late it's getting, she heard him say, and she ran like the wind to catch up. But the rabbit was gone. There she stood, alone in a long hallway that was lit up by a row of lamps hanging from the ceiling. There were doors all around the hall, but they were all locked. She began to wonder if she was ever going to get out again. She decided to walk a little further ahead to see what she could find. There's Alice looking down this long hallway. She's being very brave, but that's because she's a very curious child. She came to a little three-legged table made of solid glass. There was nothing on it except a tiny golden key. And Alice's first thought was that it might belong to one of the doors in the hall. But the locks were either too large or the key was too small, and it wouldn't open any of the doors. She checked them again, but this time she found a low curtain that she hadn't noticed before. And behind it was a little door about 15 inches high. She tried the little golden key in the lock, and to her great delight, it fit. Alice opened the door. Here we see, there's Alice. Alice opened the door. She knelt down to look through it and saw the most beautiful garden she had ever seen. How she wished to get out of that dark hole and wander around the beds of bright flowers and cool fountains, but she could not even get her head through the doorway. She went back to the table, hoping she could find another key on it, or perhaps a book of rules to tell her how to get through the door. This time, she found a little bottle on it. That wasn't here before, she said. Around the neck of the bottle was a paper label, and the words said, "Drink me," printed in very large letters. Alice picked up the bottle, and seeing that it was not marked poison, she tasted it. Ooh, it was delicious. She quickly finished it. Ooh. Here's two really good illustrations. Here's the little glass bottle, "Drink me." And there's Alice looking at it to make sure that it doesn't say poison, which would not be a good thing. What a curious feeling, said Alice. I must be getting smaller. She was right. She was now only 10 inches high. Now I'm the right size to go through the little door and into the beautiful garden, she thought to herself. So Alice went back to the door, but had forgotten the little golden key. When she went back to the table for it, she could not reach it. Uh-oh. She could see it through the glass, and she tried her best to climb up one of the legs of the table, but it was too slippery. Alice sat down and cried. As she wiped the tears from her eyes, she noticed a little glass box lying under the table. She opened it and found a small cake that had the words, "Eat me," marked on it in raisins. Well, I'll eat it, she said. And if it makes me grow bigger, I can reach the key. And if it makes me grow smaller, I can slide under the door. Either way, I'll get into that garden, and I don't care which happens. She ate a little bit, and she held her hand out on top of her head to feel which way she was growing. She was surprised to find that she remained the same size. So she set to work and soon finished off the whole cake. Here's Alice with her cake that says, "Eat me." You know, you could make cupcakes and write things on top of them and then pretend that it happened. Well, we're going to stop there. That's the end of the first chapter. Chapter 2 is called A Pool of Tears. I think Alice is probably going to get sad, but then some very exciting and fun things are going to happen. So, welcome to Alice in Wonderland. I will see you tomorrow.